Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment meeting for November 21st, 2024. First order of business is any pecuniary interest by any of the members today. Take that as a no. Okay, our first application today is an application for a minor variance, 136 Dundas Street West, Belleville, Ontario, and the owner is William and Bonnie Grover. So staff?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. The property is located on the north side of Dundas Street West, west of Holden Street and south of Parker Street. The minor variance application requests relief to reduce the minimum rear yard depth permitted for a one-unit detached dwelling from 7.5 meters to 4.9 meters. This relief would facilitate the construction of an addition that would contain a bedroom with a bathroom to the rear of the existing dwelling. The official plan designation of the property is residential land use. At this time, staff have received no correspondence from the public regarding this application. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is Mr. Grover here? Or a representative? In case we... I don't have any questions. No? Is anybody from the public wish to comment on 136 Dundas West? I'll take that as a no. So if we have no further questions, a motion. Jack, pass. Robert, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, next application for minor variance, 248 Shannon Road, City of Belleville. The owner is David Laurie and staff.
Thank you, Chair. The subject property at 248 Shannon Road is currently developed with a one-unit detached dwelling and an accessory building. On May 16, 2024, consent application B5/24 was approved to sever one residential lot from the property, which includes the existing dwelling and accessory building. This will allow for the proposed construction of a one-unit dwelling on the retained lot. As a condition of consent, this minor variance application is requesting zoning relief to reduce the minimum required lot frontage on both the severed and the retained lots. Additionally, a corresponding zoning amendment application has been submitted as another condition of consent and will be considered at the next Planning Advisory Committee meeting. At this time, staff have not received any comments from the public regarding this minor variance application. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Is Mr. Laurie here? In case we have some questions.
Do I have any questions?
Do you have any comments?
No, sir.
Nope. Any of the board members have any questions, comments? Any member of the public have any comments regarding Shannon Road? Take that as a no. Okay. If that's the case, then motion by Robert, seconded by Joe. All in favor? Done.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Application for minor variance, 46 Redwood Drive, City of Belleville. The owner is 209-6117 Ontario Limited, and the agent is Jamie Shea. Staff.
Thank you, Chair. The subject property is located on the west side of Redwood Drive and is currently developed with a one-unit detached dwelling that includes one accessory dwelling unit. The application proposes to increase the width of the driveway in the front yard from the maximum permitted 7.7 meter to 9 meters to accommodate an additional parking space to tenants. This proposed driveway expansion will also impact both the minimum required front yard landscape area and the front yard soft landscape area. Therefore, to facilitate this change, zoning relief is being requested to 1, increase the maximum permitted driveway width, 2, reduce the minimum required front yard landscape area, and 3, reduce the minimum front yard soft landscape area requirement for the accessory dwelling unit. The property is zoned residential type 1, and at this time, staff have not received any comments from the public regarding this application. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you. And I assume you're Mr. O'Shea?
That's me.
Okay. Any further comments, questions?
Nope.
So the driveway is,
We would like to make the driveway wider, but obviously we met the staff and they wouldn't support it, so we went with what they would support.
it's about 5 feet more, isn't it? That's approximately? Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Any questions for this gentleman? Anybody in the audience regarding Redwood? I'll take that as a no. Okay, Motion? Robert, seconded by? Or do you have any questions?
I just don't understand that. So this is more to the city. We have a bylaw about the driveway space. Why don't why are we in here? Like, what's the point of having a bylaw if we don't want driveways to be bigger than this? And now we have people coming in and ask for bigger driveways.
Through the chair, I mean, that's a fair question. The city has policies that we outline for development through our official plan, and we implement that through our zoning bylaw. The Planning Act does allow for minor variances, and that's why obviously this committee sits here. So in this, generally speaking, we have those set provisions as you've outlined. What this platform allows for is those essentially one-off variances on a case-by-case basis. In this situation, the applicants outlined why they've asked for this request. So again, we wouldn't be necessarily wanting to change the bylaws by any means, but this is essentially an application to permit it in this one specific instance.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So just a clarification, is there a limit that the city has in mind for how many driveways are going to let these subdivisions increase the driveway? Like, could theoretically every single person that lives in these subdivisions ask for this extended driveway space, and then all of a sudden we lose all this green space in these communities?
Through the chair. Generally speaking, the city's stance on it is that we would like to see 50% of the front yard to be maintained as landscaping, 50% be driveway, and that's what's provided in the zoning bylaw. Typically, these decisions aren't supposed to take in precedence, so this shouldn't be a precedent-setting application. Does that influence other decisions? For example, can they say, their neighbor has that as well? It shouldn't. Theoretically, could it? It's for staff to make recommendations to you, and as the committee, it's up to you to make the decision in that situation.
These new, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to kind of piggyback off that because I kind of had a question about similar lines, but through you, Mr. Chair, I guess the auxiliary dwelling unit here, is that factor into, like, obviously the necessity for it? Is like, you just can't get it because you want a wider driveway. There's got to be a reason for it. And I was worried, are we opening up a can of worms here for down the road? You're saying it's not precedent setting though, right?
It is not intended to be precedent setting for sure. I'm trying to think of the, and again, maybe this is a better question for the applicant himself. I think generally speaking, the zoning bylaw requires parking, so it requires one parking space for the main dwelling unit, and that can't be considered in the garage because we want to maintain that one space out front. An accessory dwelling unit does require one space. It can get an exemption for that if it's within certain distances of transit, schools, and retail shopping. This one doesn't qualify for that because there is no transit, and that was part of the rationale that the applicant explained to us, that there is no transit in the local area, so they want to be able to provide an additional parking space.
If I may comment? Yeah. So just further to you asking about relief for many other people, the city's bylaw isn't consistent with the province's mandate of having more houses built and more units. So currently, you can have, correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, you can have up to 4 dwelling units on one property. Where are all these people going to park? You can't park that many cars in a 2-bay garage or 2-bay driveway. So the city's bylaw needs to be changed so that people like me aren't spending money coming here before you guys, wasting your time. So
With all these new subdivisions, the driveways are so short that you can't park one behind the other because you're out over the
Right.
sidewalk in whatever case. So there is a
and
need
this is
for,
even exasperated because when the subdivision was done, we requested, or there was a request for a front yard setback reduction, and then the sidewalk's on the same side of the street, so you can't park on the sidewalk or over the sidewalk. So literally, you can get 2 cars in the driveway. That's it.
how many units are in this building?
There's 2,
There's 2, okay.
but we have a family upstairs, and, I'll call it, they're not a family, but there's 3 folks in the basement, a couple and then a roommate, and they have a need, all 3 of them have a car, so we have a need for 5 cars to park there, and there's just not the space.
Okay,
So just for clarification, for a 1-unit dwelling and an accessory dwelling unit, the zoning bylaw requires 2 parking spaces. This property currently can have up to 3 dwelling units. There is no provincial, federal mandate for 4 units at this time. There is a mandate for 3. We allow for that. This property can fit 3 on the current size. This is for additional parking beyond what's required by the bylaw for this type of use. Typically, the requirements for accessory dwelling units is minimal. It's 1 space. We can't ask for more than 1 space for an accessory dwelling unit. We actually provide for parking reductions because the type of tenants typically that it's geared towards is rentals, and specifically those not necessarily that have vehicles. This request is, so it is beyond that. So what this request is not that the bylaw doesn't facilitate it. It does facilitate it. This property does have enough parking on there to accommodate 3 units.
all right, any further comments? Okay, back to square one. We have a motion to. All motion. Second here, all in favor? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All righty, next application for minor variance, 320, 330 North Front Street. The owner is 4811334 in Turtlington, Beaver Capital Investments Limited, and the agent is Greystone Design Group. Staff.
Apologies for that, Chair. Just let me pull the sheet here. So the subject property is located on the west side of North Front Street, south of Bell Boulevard, and north of Tracy Street. Municipally, there are 4 addresses assigned to this property, including 320, 324, 328, and 330 North Front Street. This application particularly pertains to 328 North Front Street. However, the overall request is for a reduction in parking on the overall property to facilitate the redevelopment of the current retail store into a drive-through restaurant. The subject property is zoned regional commercial C3 zone, which permits both the current use and the proposed use. If approved, this minor variance would decrease the required number of parking spaces based off of the gross floor area of the existing commercial buildings from 86 to 47 spaces. 8 additional spaces are utilized by the subject land. However, they are located partially outside of the property and on the city's road right-of-way. Therefore, they couldn't be included in the overall parking count. However, at this time, they're still used by the property. The applicant is proposing to increase the landscape buffer along the residential properties abutting to the west. And at this time, staff have received 1 inquiry from the member of the public, and once they understood the application, they had no concerns. Back to you,
Okay,
Chair.
thank you. Okay, do you have any questions, comments?
I'm Rob Hewitt with Greystone, the architect. Unless you have any questions for me, I think it's a straightforward
Okay, does
application.
anybody here have a question?
Yeah, is this where the new restaurant is?
Is the proposed,
New
yeah,
restaurant.
yeah.
That's the actual building.
Well, it's being moved down the street,
Which one?
but,
Where the parking is up against the building?
yeah, was it the old Akeem Optical Building?
Correct.
Yeah, and now it's gonna be, you said a KFC?
That's the proposal.
They're gonna move it from Wendy's down the street.
The KFC is combined with the Taco Bell just north
Or
of the
Taco
block.
Bell, yeah.
And the Taco Bell is gonna remain with the drive-through that's there, and this is to separate the KFC to the former Hakeem Optical Building.
Can we get the map back up there, please?
I was gonna ask, well, I'll wait for you, Jack, actually.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it's
Through you, Mr. Chair, just the parking, and maybe I'm not looking at the right diagram, but I'm familiar with the buildings. On the east side, like, there's a bunch of, like, there's parking spaces, but they're kind of being encroached upon by a bunch of brush and stuff like that. And I think there might be a fence in behind there.
Are you,
And
do you mean in the west or at the front, like in the east?
sorry, the west. I'm saying west. Yeah, I don't have my
On the west, there's a wood fence that runs right along the lot line.
Okay, because
So-
it's tough to tell sometimes because it
Yeah.
looks like there's all that shrubbery and weeds and stuff growing out of there. So I'm not sure if like we could tack on like to have it clear that there's parking there because it looks like parking's going to be in demand on this property, but then we take that other section out. So I just don't. It's on. I see it on that diagram, but the one on my computer is a little bit different.
I do have, like, I went by there on the way here, so I took photos. It seems pretty clear to me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I can show you what I,
Jack, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess with the new restaurant there, the parking is very limited in the front, on the north front side. Like,
Yeah.
is that what, 3, maybe 4 spots? And then on the south side, of that new restaurant, I don't know if there's any parking there.
on the
Like,
south.
on the south side going south. What I'm concerned about is where are the people gonna park for this new restaurant that's in there? I have no idea, because you're going to take some, you're gonna make a drive-through?
Correct.
Is that on the north side or the south side of the building?
Both. The drive-through is along the
Yeah,
north
okay,
and
so
around.
you're
but
coming back.
Around.
Which is the actual side of
The south side will be where the pickup window is.
Okay, so that's gonna remove a number of, I think it's 5 or 6. Yeah, yeah. And that, the new restaurant that's there, so I just wonder where they're going to park. Are you making any more at the back, where the wooden fence is?
No, we're proposing actually to put some shrubs in there to separate the drive-through from the residential.
If I can help clarify on this, so there's a couple things going on here. The back buffer area is a requirement to have a 1.5 meter buffer between there. It actually tapers off near the south part of the property. So we've actually asked them to extend that, which they've agreed to do. There is some proposed parking at the rear, which I don't believe is marked at the moment, but it is shown on there. And there's a number of additional parking spaces around where the drive-through is that will be removed. And that's really where this reduction is coming from. The overall property, I believe, is a little deficient as is. As part of this. So when we were going through the application process, we actually asked them to do a parking study to review what the demand was for it. And what they found was that the proposed number was well within what the actual demand of the property was. So that was included in the report there.
I guess what I've seen recently there is that restaurant is becoming very busy. Since it's opened, it's only been open less than a month. That new restaurant, the Vietnamese one.
Next door.
Yeah, yeah, like the
The other restaurant.
everything on facing north front is full, pretty well all day. As I
The
travel by
Vietnamese
there.
restaurant, is that-
I'm concerned that the parking is gonna become a real problem there unless you take the boo out of there or whatever.
Yeah. Is the restaurant, is it mainly going to be takeout? How many seats are going to be in the restaurant that people are going to actually go in and sit down and eat? Do we know?
I'm from KFC, from Soul Foods. So mainly it's takeout, right? We have about, I think, 4 to 8 seats in the store, in the new design in this restaurant.
4 tables?
8, yeah, 4 seats, 4, 8 seats.
14, okay.
Yeah, so it's mainly takeout. And I think data from the KFC Taco Bell down the road is mostly people take out from there too.
Okay. Alrighty. Joe?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I really echo Jack's concerns here about the parking. And like even in these pictures, like the one on the, I guess the Go-Go side, like it shows parking on the map, but like, there's no actually lines once you get down that hill, and I'm assuming that's cause it's kind of like a in and out as well. So like, I just don't know, like, that seems to be like, you're cramming a lot of things on there, and there's just not enough places to park, so where are these people gonna park? For the restaurant, for the other stores? I hadn't even thought about that.
I guess I just see with the new restaurant opening up, it's been less than a month, since they opened, it's very busy, or seems to be very busy. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that or not.
The 86 to 47, that's for the whole property, right?
Correct, that
Yeah.
is for the whole property.
Okay, so there's about 3, 4 buildings all on that property, correct?
There's 4 buildings on the property, and then as mentioned, there are some spaces that are out front, directly abutting North Front Street, that were not included in that calculation. They were left out entirely because they're partially on the property, partially on city property. However, from a practical standpoint, they are used by this property. And again, the city did, also have the similar concerns, whether this property would be able to handle the increase, and that's why we asked for the parking study to be submitted with the application.
The paint store that's just north of that, is it part of that property?
Correct.
So after hours, the paint store is closed, then there should be less traffic, or less parking there, so that for evening or whatever, there's gonna be more spaces there that wouldn't be taken up by the people in the paint store. Now, I don't know what else is in there. There's that restaurant, and then is there a spa next door? Poly Spa, or is it still there?
There's a candy store. There's an escape room. There's the Go-Go's, the adult entertainment business at the end there, which again has modified hours in comparison to the others. Just for I guess anecdotal purposes, when staff did our site visit, did not see many cars parked there. I was there I'd say about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was fairly empty throughout the parking lot.
The Boo Club there, or the joint on the corner, I see the sign when I drive by, it doesn't open till 7 o'clock at night or something, so.
That's true.
Yeah, so during the day or supper time, whatever, there's spots.
You've got that restaurant plus this suggested one,
Yeah,
and it could get pretty crowded.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think what Jack's partly trying to say here is like when this parking study would have been done, the Hakeem Optical obviously wasn't open, so this building, and this new restaurant hadn't opened yet either. So I think that's what Jack's basically trying to say is it's a lot busier potentially now than it was when this study was done, that there's more businesses happening.
If I may, just on the protocol of the study, they did the study and they kind of factored in when they did it in July, and they factored in that one building the Hakeem was closed. So they did account for that in the study.
okay. Any further questions, concerns? Anybody in the public that wants to comment on North Front Street? I guess not. Okay. If the,
One more.
yeah, sure.
Sorry, I guess like one of the big things is going to be delivery, like Uber Eats and delivery. So where do you envision these delivery drivers parking, that they can quickly park, safely run inside, pick up the package, and then go and deliver it without causing mayhem in this small space? That would be my question. Is that been thought through here?
I think it would be in the spots that are on the property line that are not included in here. So we're proposing 2 barrier-free ones that are on the property, but there's the 8 spots that kind of bridge the property line that are not included in that number. But there are spots there that are directly in front of the proposed restaurant.
On the west side.
On the east side.
One last question for me is that, were these 86 spots, all of them used all the time?
Pardon me?
The 86 spots that are available, parking spots?
No, well, the 86 is what's required by the bylaw.
Yeah, but how many are in that whole, there's 86 in that whole No?
No, there's 40 officially, and I think it's 47 or 48 in reality.
So the
Through
bylaw
the-
says there's
through the chair.
86.
Through the chair, there's already a deficiency
Okay,
on the property
that's-
from what
okay.
the actual zoning
That was where I
bylaw
was going
was.
with it, okay.
So, for clarification, when this application came in, we already recognized that there's a deficiency here. What we were looking for through their application was to cover the difference between what a retail store would require and what a drive-through restaurant would require. So that's really what we're trying to to look at there. Pardon me, sorry.
So the bylaw says there should be 86. So how many are there right now?
I'll
That's
just
what-
have to
that's
double
what-
check on there. I believe it's, just
So
bear
we're
with
not reducing it from 86 to 47, we could be reducing it from 50 to 47. Okay, that's what I wanted to be clear on. So it sounds like we're reducing it a whole lot more than we actually are. If there are only 60 or 55 there now, that's what we're really reducing it by, correct?
Yeah, what
Correct.
we're really reducing is around the building, around the new restaurant, those spots are going, so
Yeah.
probably.
You just want to know how many there are now to be exact.
Correct. Through the chair, I believe there were approximately 7 spaces that were being impacted by the drive-through, by taking them out by putting in that drive-through lane. So that was the actual reduction, and then there was a theoretical increase by switching from a retail store to a restaurant in terms of parking demand. But ultimately, yeah, there were never the full number of spaces on the property.
So we're really only reducing it by maybe 10? Is that a reasonable assumption?
Through the chair, I think it's a little closer to 15, but yeah, there was a deficiency. Unfortunately, I don't have the parking study in front of me. It's, if you have the attachment to that report, the numbers should be in there for what's
Okay,
existing
yeah, I
and
don't
what's
have it.
required.
It looks like we're going from 86 to 47, where we're really not. We're only going from like, we'll say 60 to 47. Somewhere in that range?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. That makes it a little easier to understand. Okay. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, I got one
Anybody,
more.
other questions?
Did you say 14 tables?
No, I said 4 seats.
14.
14, 1-4. Okay, yeah. Plus the takeout. Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, do we have a motion? Pass, moved, seconded by Jack. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
so
Chair
we're
and the
going
committee.
there. Okay, moving right along. Let's go to application for a minor variance, 120 Burnham Street. The owner is Artistic Holdings Limited. The agent is Spencer Hutchinson and staff.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, this application is for a property at the corner of Burnham Street and Dundas Street. And it's requesting relief for a previously approved apartment building, 38-unit apartment building, containing 12 rental units. They are seeking relief to the required number of parking spaces to reduce that from 33 to 29, as well as reducing the required minimum rear yard depth from 13 meters to 12.15 meters. This project previously approved through the city's community improvement plan for utilization of Program 3, the Affordable Rental Housing Tier Program in 2022. So that's how the 12 units will be assisted there. 2 members of the public have reached out regarding this application, expressing opposition to the parking reduction. And since then, we've had no further comments from them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Spencer, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. 2 things. One thing to note is this property was rezoned a few years ago under the previous zoning bylaw of the City of Belleville. And through staff's great efforts, they came up with a new, up-to-date, consolidated bylaw. Under the new bylaw, I can stand corrected, there wouldn't be a need for parking reduction. We have more parking right now because when we rezoned it, the standards were different. But as you referred to earlier, The city, when updating, they looked at parking provision for apartments and higher density. And if you're on a transit line, you have commercial, you have schools, you can reduce it. So if we came in today, there wouldn't be a variance for the parking we're requesting. Am I correct?
Through you, Chair, that is correct. There, I could break it down into more detail if you like, but that is correct.
Okay.
So that one's a technical one, and then the other one is when the architect and the draftsperson tweaked the plan, we didn't ask for a variance when it was rezoned for the 13 meter, but these things creep in through the revisions, and because the north property line is on a diagonal, the northeast corner is deficient in the setback. But as you can see, the property line veers to the north. So it's not for the whole building, it's just for the east side of the building, doesn't meet the 13. And I believe we did mark on the point at which, yes, there's a red line that shows where the actual deficiency exists. And it stops sort of halfway through car parking space 1, and then the rest of the way has 13 meters. So to me, that's the gist of a minor variance.
It's less than 1 meter anyway.
Yeah, in that sense too, yes.
Yeah, and it's only on part of the property. Okay,
Yeah,
so that-
and the property to the north, it's the side yard, and there's a driveway, so it's not like you're infringing on somebody's backyard
It's the
or,
back.
I mean, there's still gonna be space on the next property.
The house on the corner, is it coming down?
Everything's coming down probably before the end of the year.
Okay. All righty, any other questions, comments? And I guess there's nobody in the audience for comments? All righty. Having said that,
Sorry, I'd like to hear the city's breakdown a little
Okay.
further on that.
so, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, of course, through you, Chair. So the original, when this application came in, the city was still under zoning bylaw 10245, which covered the urban area. Under that zoning bylaw, this level of project would have required 48 spaces for that. The previous zoning bylaw was amended to a site-specific zone. That reduced it down to 33. Earlier this year, as Spencer highlighted, the city passed the 2024-100 zoning bylaw, which with that bylaw alone, this project would require 35 spaces as a base. That zoning bylaw also includes parking reductions. So I mentioned those earlier. If you're within 800 meters of a school, retail, 400 meters of a transit stop. This property would qualify. It hits all three of those requirements. That would reduce the parking requirements down to 26 spaces. When we were analyzing this, again, it had been previously approved for 33. They really needed a reduction for the 4 spaces. We suggested go down to 29. We still have an appropriate number. It's actually more than what the zoning bylaw requires from that sense.